Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. So today I finally got something. This is one of the Facebook scroll items. I have needed this for so long. Let's check it out. All right guys, so here's the drill. We have all done basic soldering stuff. Everybody knows that. And we are all relegated to using one of these nifty little helping hands guys. And Stumpy can see that. There's a little magnifying glass and all that. But, you know, sometimes working with this little thing is so frustrating because you can't get it to hold at quite the right angle. And no matter how you tighten it or secure it, it wiggles around on you. And, you know, it just never works quite like you expect, right? So the other day I was on Facebook, and once again we saw our Facebook scroll item come by, and this company looked really cool. Now, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, you know what, we're going to check it out. We're going to give them an opportunity, and let's see what we got in this box, shall we? Yeah, I tell you, when I'm soldering, I cannot stand when things are falling over or flipping, and that little guy, for as cool as he is, just doesn't quite cut it. So this, all right, looks like we got a little box inside of a box here, and nothing else in there. Boop. All right, this box looks pretty basic. Anybody read that language? Because I'm pretty sure I don't. Yeah. All right, so let's just crack it open. All right, check this out, guys. So right off the bat, it looks weird and like legit strange, but you probably get an idea where we're going here. A whole bunch of arms to come together to be able to hold stuff to solder. Oh, okay, now first off, guys, look here. I pulled one of the arms out. These are very, very stiff plastic connections. So there's no metal in there. That is literally plastic. And it looks like they're all built that way. You got some pretty cool little clips that go on the end of the feet. Let's see how those attach here. And they're light. I mean, that's pretty lightweight aluminum. But it looks like they just stick right in there like that. And one thing I do like, guys, is that all of the little clips here are actually covered in rubber. That comes in real handy when you're pinching down on a small PCB and you're soldering to it. So that's kind of cool. And it looks like we had a couple bags of little feet and a little wrench, which I'm willing to bet probably matches up to the base of these. So we'll try that. And here's the base. Now, the base has actually got some, oh man, that's actually really nice, guys. That's brushed aluminum. Check that out. That's pretty nice. Got some rubber feet on the bottom of it, and it's got some pretty good weight to it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put a few of these on, and let's see what this looks like. All right, so it looks like they just screw on here, just like that. There we go. Now, I would probably have preferred that the arms be made out of aluminum, but you know what? If they're solid and they'll last the test of time, that's really the key. They have to be able to, you know, work more than just one time on one project. But they look and they feel really good at this point. Let's put the other ones on here and we'll take a look at it and see what it looks like when it's totally completed. Hang tight. All right, guys, so here you go. As you can see, this has got a pretty good stance on it, which means you could get some pretty solid size boards in here to be able to solder on. A couple other things I noticed as I was doing this. Number one, on this side, and I'm hoping Stumpy's picking this up, that's a place to set your soldering iron down. And it occurred to me that that's why they made this out of aluminum. This would be a perfect place to put your sponge if it didn't have a hole through it. So I'm not real sure what the logic was of drilling that hole through there, because it would have been a great place to put your sponge to dab it. But other than that, you know, you've got a lot of little holes here to hold different things. I don't know what that would be for, but I do like the fact that you could technically set your soldering iron down here if you had to. Not that it matters. Most people these days are using actual solder stations like our Tinksley over there. And by the way, that has been a great solder station, guys. I've been using that like crazy. If you haven't seen the video on that, I'm going to go ahead and put a link up in the description up here for that Tinksley solder station. I definitely recommend you pick one of these up. Now, a couple things about this when I built it. There were a couple of extra tools in here. So you get this wrench to tighten these legs down here, but I'll tell you guys, I don't know that I would use it, and here's why. this is plastic going into aluminum, and it would be very, very easy to strip this or break these plastic connections. And frankly, tightening it by hand got it plenty tight. You don't have to worry about that. One thing I do like is it did come with an extra little clip. So you got a spare. Look, I found a use for the hole there in the center. So that's pretty cool. So, all right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's test this out. What better way to test a new soldering thing to do a solder project, right? So the other day, I picked up one of these little Velleman Kit sound to light unit. Now, I'm assuming what that means is that if it hears sounds, it responds with LEDs in some way. I have no idea what this is going to do. It may do nothing. You know how this goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the kit aside. I'm going to get our solder kit over here, get it ready to go, and then we'll go through what's in this little kit. Okay, guys, so while our soldering unit is getting all hot here, I got to tell you, I really do dig this thing, guys. It looks kind of like an octopus, man. I was sitting here checking it out off camera, and you could actually arrange some pretty cool stuff on this. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm liking it so far. Even though it's plastic and not aluminum, I can deal with that. We're willing to give them a little bit of latitude there. All right, so let's take a look at this kit. Okay, so in the box, it looks like a pretty basic kit. A lot of resistors and capacitors in this one. I know a couple of them we've done in the past. And if you guys haven't seen them, you know, like the little digital bug, we did that one on here. That was a cute little thing, by the way. And this little audio game, kind of like a Simon. This thing was great. It's really, really hard, but it's a lot of fun to play. A lot of buttons on that one. So, all right. So we've got our battery compartment, which looks like it takes a 9-volt. That's problematic. I hope I have one here. And here's our PCB. And as you can see, it's pretty basic. Nothing too much to that. It's all labeled really well. And it's got some great solder pads on the back, so we shouldn't have any too much trouble there. All right, and let's get it. We got our resistors here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this out and kind of line it up so we can see. Now, one thing about this that let's see. Oh, yeah, there you go. I was going to say it didn't have instructions, but it actually does, which is great. Pretty basic instructions on how to install everything. LEDs, transistors, capacitors. Yeah, pretty basic stuff, nothing too major. And it's pretty straightforward here too. So, all right. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and line this stuff up out here, and then we'll start assembly on it. And I typically like to start with the resistors to get those out of the way because they sit the lowest to the board. And then, you know, once you've got those on, it's pretty easy to manipulate around them. So, all right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and start out with the resistors. Now, fortunately, I got to tell you, when it comes to resistors, dude, the older you get, the suckier it gets to look at these because the colors and the power of them and the values are determined by the little bitty stripes that are on there. So you either have to have super, and I see Stumpy won't even focus on that, super good eyes or magnifying glass. So I'll probably attach this magnifying glass to this guy at some point, but we'll get to that. So we're going to go ahead and start with the ones that we know right off the bat, which are these 4, and we're going to get those installed on this PCB. Now we're going to use our little helping hands guy. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and insert these in here, and then we're going to bend them out and then put it on here and solder it up. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get a few of these soldered in place here. Now you'll see I'm just using 2 arms actually to hold it in right now because it's kind of small. So let's go ahead, let's get a couple solders going here. By the way, one thing I'm going to tell you about this kit, I am not real fond of their instructions, which essentially don't exist. We'll go into that in just a second. All right, guys, and as you can see, we now have all of our resistors soldered on there. You know, I got to say one thing about this, and I noticed that I'm going to see if I can get Stumpy to get kind of a shot of this. So when I was soldering this, and I'm going to kind of pin this up here a little to show you, what I caught myself doing is when I was soldering, I was leaning my hand against the edge of this and kind of putting weight on it. And actually, it was holding nicely, so it was stabilizing my solder gun hand. Pretty cool little aspect of it. I got to say, I do kind of dig that. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next step, and let's get the capacitors on. All right, now we got those on. Let's go ahead and solder them in place. There we go. I'm going to see if Stumpy can actually catch this because it really is kind of cool that you can lean your hand on it. So, all right, we're going to start right here. See what I'm doing? See how I'm leaning my hand on that? It's really cool. All right. Yeah, one thing I was telling you guys about the instructions on this, they're very vague, and this diagram does not match the board. You literally have to pull them, check the bands on each one of them, and then compare it to how many are on the board so that you can get things into the right place. So while the kit itself is kind of cool and it's really easy, that is one thing that I would wish they would have done. But you know what? What fun would it be if there wasn't a little challenge, right, guys? All right, get these trimmed down. Yeah, it looks like I actually missed one. All right. There we go. And trim that off. All right, so as you can see, now we have all our resistors and our capacitors in place. They're pretty cool looking. All right, let's go ahead and do our transistors. Now with transistors, sometimes on these, and I'm going to see if I can get Stumpy to see this, you actually have to bend that middle leg out, because what they'll do is they'll put these in kind of like an A fashion. So you have to bend the leg out and then go down here. But it looks like this board might be a little more cooperative than that. We're going to find out here and see what it looks like. Actually, no, it isn't. We are going to have to. So to give you an idea, and hopefully Stumpy can focus in on this, you can see how you've got 3 holes right there. That's for the transistors. And as you can see, you have to line up the picture so you got the flat edge back, but you got to bend this front leg out a little bit like this. And these are really, really tiny. I don't think Stumpy's quite getting the idea how small they are. And then bend it back down like that. So you see what you got there? You got kind of a, hopefully Stumpy can focus on that. You got kind of a little prong thing going on there. Then you can take that little prong thing and stick it down into the transistor spot, and I will show you. Yeah, this is always the most challenging part of these. Just like that. See how that slides down in there? And you don't have to go too terribly far with these, just long enough to get your legs bent back. So let's go ahead and get the other 2 in. I'm going to get the other 2 in. I'm going to get it soldered. We'll be right back with you. All right, as you can see now, we've got all those in place. All right, so now that we have all those in there, the next thing we're going to go do is we're going to do this electrostatic, or the electrolytic rather, capacitor. Now it is polarized. The thing to remember is whenever you're dealing with these capacitors, and hopefully Stumpy once again can focus, there's a long end and a short end. The long end on that is always the positive, and that is important because there is polarity on this. It only goes one direction. So let's go ahead and see where that attaches here. That's going to go to C4, which is right here. All right, so the way you do these is you bend these down almost like a perfect, like that, and making sure that you get your positive into the positive. And I know Stumpy's having a real hard time focusing on that. Get your positive into your positive and your negative into your negative, just like that. And that's what you want. And you bend that out. And we'll get that soldered in place. All right, the next thing we'll go ahead and do is we'll get the microphone installed, and I believe it said that was labeled, and it is. And there is a positive and a negative, but there's a big flat area, so you can't really put that in wrong. All right, so now that we got the microphone in, and we get that trimmed off a little bit more flush here. Not that it matters, this isn't going to be in a case or anything, but, you know, we will have it up here on display, so. All right, so the next part is we're going to go ahead and we're going to install our RV1, which is our trim pot. It looks like that goes in just like that. Just like that. All right, and we will solder that down real quick. All right, as you can see now, we have our trim pot installed. It's starting to look like a little board there, actually doing something here. All right, so let's get down to our battery, and I believe this is one of our last step after our LEDs. Let's get our LEDs in real quick since we're here. And just like before, the LEDs are polarized, and you'll notice how it's got 4 LEDs here. The little flat edge, and hopefully I can get Stumpy to do that little flat edge right there, that's where your negative is going to go, or the short end. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mount these and get them soldered in place. All right, guys, and on our battery, which is our last step, it's actually marked positive and negative. So we're going to slide that through there. And slide this through here. and get that soldered on. And then it looks like it kind of mounts on the back. I'm kind of curious to see what this looks like. So, all right, there we go. All right, soldering that on, and we'll get it all assembled. All right, guys, and there it is, a completed unit. Check that out. Pretty awesome, right? Listen, this thing is awesome. I love it. Let me check and see if I've got a battery. Be right back. All right, guys, you know what? Murphy's Law, I don't have a 9-volt battery around to play with this. So I did some research on it. All it really does is the LEDs light up in response to sounds in the room. So if you want to see this thing operate, you can come down here to the flea market. I'll have it sitting over here with all the rest of our little projects. But really, this wasn't the point. This cool thing was the point. I got to tell you, huge thumbs up. This is going to be sitting up here now permanently with my solder station. This will definitely be my helping hands guy. So much as I hate to say it, I'm going to have to let him go. I am, however, and we'll do this together since I got you. We're going to steal his magnifying glass, and we're going to give it to this guy. Look at that. Up. There we go. Right where we want it. Cool. Yeah, and I'll tell you, that might actually just fit. Let me see. Given how the size of this thing, it might just fit in there. Look at that. Look at that, guys. It just fits. Okay, that's officially awesome. Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely be using this thing like crazy. So check it out. I can zoom Stumpy out here so you guys get a better view of him. Look at that. That's pretty cool. All right, guys. Well, huge thumbs up. I'm going to drop a link to this company. These are cheap. They are awesome. And clearly they work great. So I'd suggest getting one. In fact, this one is going to be used for the project that I'm currently working on, which once again we talked about was to replace that clock that we baked the pie into. So we have another Bake a Pie episode coming up very soon. You're going to love this. This is one of the more creative ones I've thought of. So I think you'll like it. And I guarantee no one's done it yet on YouTube. Have a fantastic week and a great weekend. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.